Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Today, well, we're going to talk about inflation and what kind of items you might want to stockpile for a situation like that. I don't know, it seems like it's kind of on everybody's mind lately. You go to McDonald's, you go to the grocery store, you go pretty much anywhere, you're going to notice a difference in the bill. You know, and sometimes it's not that big of a difference, and other things it's like shocking. You know, you go to buy a new car or even a used car right now or get an auto repair, prices are way up or they can't even get the parts. You know, things are kind of crazy. You go to McDonald's and instead of being maybe, I don't know, $7, $8, it's $9 or $10 for a meal. You know, you go out to eat. Freaking Waffle House the other day was like $30 for breakfast. You know, and I'm like, wait, there's two of us. You know, I'm like, wait a minute, it's Waffle House. Kid Rock eats here. What the hell? You know, I was like, this isn't Class A, you know?
Yeah, Waffle House, when Waffle House prices are going up, man, that's, things are getting bad.
That's the signal, right? Mm-hmm. And basically the waiter, I think I maybe even mentioned this, but I'm dumb, but the waiter was like, if you give me a bigger tip, I'll put free items on there and then it'll work out for both of us. And I'm like, yeah,
it's not going to work out for you. It's just going to work out for him.
You're down for cheating your employer. That's great and everything, jackass. But, anyway, so basically what even causes inflation? Like, how does that even happen, Kevin?
Well, there's actually quite a few things that can cause inflation. One thing that causes inflation is they call it demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation is part of the reason that we're dealing with what we're dealing with. Demand pull is when there's demand for items is higher than the supply. Now, part of the issue that we've been dealing with COVID is that shipping costs and problems with shipping have caused a shortage in a lot of items. A lot of items just aren't showing up. That's the issue with cars and electronics and even with toilet paper. Toilet paper prices are going up too. We had a serious shortage last year. We're not going to have another shortage, but prices are going to go up. And that's because there's a problem with shipping problems with wood pulp that they use to make the toilet paper.
And it's a big bulky item to ship, So
right. One of the other causes is cost push inflation. Now, cost push inflation is an increase in wages, which unfortunately we haven't really seen.
No, we have not.
Prices are going up, but most people's paychecks really aren't. It hasn't changed a lot yet. I think that's going to change over the next year or two.
Maybe going down. They said actually people have been seeing a decline in their paychecks, in new hires.
Right. Another cause of this inflation that we're dealing with right now is increased money supply. Turns out you can't just print money and pay for everything. It doesn't work out in the long run.
You're saying there's a possibility that Pelosi didn't know what she was talking about?
Yeah. Well, I'm not even going to get into that. I don't feel like that's even worth having a discussion about. And another cause of inflation can be devaluation of a country's exchange rate. That's not something we're necessarily dealing with.
That's because everybody's doing the same thing of printing money, right?
Yeah, everybody's kind of fucked with the same issues all around the world. So everybody's currency is devalued, and when everybody's currency is devalued, it doesn't really mean anything, right? So those are the main causes of inflation. I think the two main causes for us right now is the shortage in supply and increase in money supply. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't see a lot of people predicting that things are going to get much better in the next year. If anything, it looks like it's going to get worse. So we've got to kind of come up with some strategies on what we can do as preppers to be ready for this sort of stuff and hopefully keep from losing our ass trying to buy groceries for the family.
Exactly. So we're going to kind of try and dig into some hard numbers first, kind of see where we're at, and then we'll kind of come up with some solutions is my plan here. So what I think is I was watching a bunch of videos and read some Wall Street Journal articles and was digging deep for you guys because, I dig through the weeds so y'all don't have to, I guess is the plan. It's funny. I watched this guy, I believe he's a Sikh. They're the guys with the turbans and the hardcore beard.
I'm a fan of Sikhs. They're supposed to always carry a knife with them or a dagger with them in case shit goes down.
You never know when you got to slit throats, things get real.
I feel like if you're going to have any religious doctrine, that seems like a reasonable one to have.
Yeah, this guy's got he sounds logical, everything I ever hear him say. And, again, I haven't been through all his videos, so I don't know, maybe me and him will part ways somewhere along the way. But for now, he's got a channel, Rethink Rich, and on YouTube. And anyway, it's pretty entertaining. And honestly, straightforward and to the point. And, I've always kind of had a little appreciation for the Sikhs. One, because they've been fighting Muslims in hardcore since the beginning of time. And, I always take them seriously. There was a gas station that I used to frequent back when I was fixing refrigerators and whatnot. And the guy, somebody came in to rob him with a shotgun. And he just whips off his flip-flop and chases him out the door. And he's like, no. And, that's good shit right there. When you're serious, nobody's going to fuck with that. That's
even if you only have you bring a flip-flop to a gunfight and you still come out on top. That's pretty impressive.
Now, I don't know why he didn't go for the dagger. But, sometimes, you have to decide, me and a flip-flop versus you and a shotgun, that's like a fair fight. If I bring in a dagger, I'm kind of overpowering you, It's like, hey, then I'm a little too much, man. And then, So anyway, bottom line, whatever, they were talking about on YouTube is what's actually happening with inflation this year. So I know we had mentioned previously about it going up like 0.5% or something each month and, kind of ridiculous numbers. It's actually 6.2% so far this year is inflation in general. Fuel oil prices have gone up 59.1% nationally. Energy overall has gone up 30%. Used vehicles, 9.8%. Food, 5.3%. Meat, poultry, fish, and eggs in particular were like 11.9%. And yet wages were down 0.5%. So that's kind of, and basically I think one of the things going on is unemployment and getting your COVID checks and that kind of stuff is honestly kind of a better deal than what you're getting going to work. And that's where things are falling apart, at least for a lot of people. Now, some of us can't get that same money on unemployment that we could get at a real job. So that's, that, or maybe you have some kind of moral compass or, feel some kind of obligation for, if you don't work, you don't eat kind of thing. And you maybe see the bigger picture. I like to think that's what, most of you guys are going with. But, hey, to each his own, right? So that's it. People feel like they're getting a better deal on unemployment. some people are legitimately scared of going out, and catching the virus or whatever. They're like, I don't want to leave home and whatever. Maybe they're just tired of everybody being nasty and mean because they're all grumpy wearing a mask all the time. I don't know. But, people aren't going to work. And I think that's what's causing a lot of the supply chain issues is that, they can't get employees. And that's, restaurants are, doing half days and shit like that. I see, we're closed on Mondays and Sundays because we don't have the employees to staff it. That kind of thing. It's crazy. I know, getting engine parts or whatever, getting new trucks, new vehicles. I talked to car lots. They're like, we have 5 new cars on our new dealer car lot. That's insane. They have used cars, but nobody has anything new. New trucks. I talked to my buddies and they're getting phone calls from the dealer. Oh, your 3-year-old truck, we'll pay you what you paid for it brand new, if you just sell it back to us. But they're like, yeah, but I can't because I can't go buy another truck. There's nothing out there.
Exactly. The value of my house has gone up, but I can't sell it because I just have to buy another expensive house. You know?
And that's like, everyone's like, oh, well, just take the equity out of your house. No, just be careful with that. Because that's what got a lot of people in trouble back in 2009?
2008.
So
yeah,
here's what happened. Consolidating your debt and getting it down into a cheap interest rate, good idea. Do it, but don't take on new debt. Don't be like, hey, my house is worth so much, I could take out an extra 50 grand and go spend it on nonsense. Don't take on new debt that you don't really see a real way to get a return on it, I guess is my point. Because what happened before was basically interest rates went up. And interest rates will go up to 6% or something normal instead of 3%, 2.5%, whatever the hell people are getting, right? But the problem is, all of a sudden, now that house costs a whole lot more money, or property taxes cost a whole lot more money. Because remember, your property taxes are a percentage of the value. So if your house just doubled in value, well, guess what might happen to your property taxes?
Right.
They might double. That gets a lot more expensive for you. Now, if you're out in the rest of the country other than the crazy states, New York, California, New Jersey, the crazy ones, their taxes, when your taxes are equal to your mortgage payment, that's significant, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your taxes are $12,000 a year, I know some of you are like, that's impossible. Oh, no, it's not.
No, it's not
impossible. It can happen. But if your property taxes are $800 and they double to $1,600 a year, probably not going to throw you off the cliff,
Mm-hmm.
But if they double, from $12,000 to $24,000 a year, that might hurt your bottom line a little bit. So just be aware of that. Be aware of what kind of trouble you're getting into when you take on new debt. Now, if you're taking on new debt to buy more property that's going to go up in value, just be careful how far you leverage yourself. Because definitely interest rates go up. Housing prices come back down a little bit. Now, they may not come back to where they were before. They might come down 25% from the peak that they hit. But that's something to be aware of. That, hey, and then you're like, well, it doesn't matter. I have my mortgage. Now, if your mortgage is fixed, that's where a lot of people got into trouble before, was they had the variable rate interest rate. And the variable interest rate, all of a sudden it was 3% for a while. And then it went to 7%. And they're like, what? Because all of a sudden now your interest is freaking huge, right? So be careful of that. But also, even if it goes up, your payment will stay the same. Mind you, you run the risk of your taxes going up. But in general, your payment will stay the same. But you can never move because you can never sell your house to pay off your giant mortgage that you took on. So Just be aware of that. Just a little back of your mind. I know it's not a financial show and whatever, but hey, let's be prepared for life. And I feel like there's a lot of people who don't understand that concept. And I just saw a lot of people get burned where they're like, I can't get out of my house, so I'm stuck living here and stuck with whatever forever because I owe 350 and my house can only sell for 200. So I have to come up with $150,000 to sell my house. That's a problem. So don't put yourself in, that situation. Just be aware of the choices you make. So anyway, now that we have a little cash, we've got our house and our bills squared away. What kind of items, like what's disappearing or what's gonna disappear? What should we be stockpiling? What's going on out there, Kevin? What should we be doing?
Well, one thing that I think we should all look into, on this show we always talk about storing water. Now's not the time to do it. Bottled water prices are going up. It is okay to drink tap water. It's okay to store tap water. As long as your sink is working, use that water. Don't bother with the bottled water right now. It's not
so that's actually where we could save money.
Right.
By not buying bottled water.
Right. Now there's also a glass shortage, which is increasing the price of liquor, which is this is a bad situation,
I noticed my Southern Comfort was coming in a different bottle. They used to have the nice, like it would say Southern Comfort in the glass and that kind of thing. And now it's like a straight smooth glass bottle. And yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Now I know some of you guys had posted some stuff over the past few years of putting together stills that you've gotten. I know Brian was talking about that recently. Maybe it's a good time to start making your own moonshine. But I feel that liquor prices are going to come back down. And also, liquor is not a necessity of life. It's just
Kevin,
just something we enjoy.
Isn't it though?
Yep. Another thing that I'm seeing a lot in increase in prices is meat and eggs. Specifically chicken. Now, a lot of the guys that listen to this show are into raising their own chickens. It's a great idea. It's a great idea to get into, something to start, new project to start up if you're not doing it already. I know that I've got more eggs than I could ever eat. And it's a great supplement. Eggs are a great food. Full of protein, low in all the stuff you don't want and high in all the stuff you do want. It's a great asset to have, and it's a great way to save some money on your grocery bill. Canned goods are going up in prices. Now, a lot of you guys, I'm one of those guys that loves canned food as a storage item, as a prepping item. A lot of you guys don't go for the canned food. That's fine. You like freeze dried or, whatever else. But now's not the time to stock your pantry. Now's the time to use your pantry. So, stay away from the canned food. Those prices are going to come back down. It's a shortage of aluminum that's causing those prices to go up. So something to keep in mind as far as working on your preps. Steer more towards the rice and the freeze-dried food for the next 6 months to a year.
Well, my advice there would be if the price is right, buy it. But yeah, be aware that, if it seems too high, don't, jump in there. Salt and sugar. Always a nice thing to stockpile. But again, check the prices. Coffee. I know Black Rifle Coffee has always taken care of me, sent good stuff. They do take care of veterans, first responders. It is a bit of a premium coffee. Maybe you cut back a little bit. But I figure, hey, compared to Starbucks, I'm looking pretty good at the price per cup.
Yeah, and honestly, there's a drought in Brazil right now that coffee prices are going to go up. So if you are going to stock
Kevin,
up
let's
on
not talk
coffee
ugly stuff.
Yeah, no, it might be a good time to buy some. Make sure it's freeze dried. Make sure it's in a good container that it's going to last a while. And but now might be the time to buy some extra coffee and have it in the cabinet there.
Now, I am happy to report that ammo is coming back down. it's still not where it should be. I'd love to see 556 back at like a maximum of like 39 cents around. Right now, I've seen between 43 and 50 cents around. So,
Well, that's
it's
better
going
than
in
what
the
I
right
saw, so that's
direction.
not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going in the right direction. You might want to check on that. I know Midway has the 41 small rifle primers, 1,000 for $99 with free shipping. Again, I'd like to see it at like $69, $79, but it's been a while since we've been there, and at least they're in stock for you reloading guys. Things are going in the right direction. Another thing you might want to think about stockpiling a little bit is fuel.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about gas and diesel. Filling up those cans might not be a bad move. Things are reasonably priced right now. Diesel keeps, especially if you can go out and get some non-ethanol gas, maybe top off the old lawnmower cans and things like that. Your little extra, supply you keep around the house. I know I keep a couple extra. I think on average, I keep like 10 gallons of gas and I keep like 20 gallons of diesel on hand. But that's just the diesel lasts. And hey, I want to have my tractor forever. I want the end of the world. I want my tractor running,
Right. I think that's a good point about diesel. I mean, you can store that for a long time. I try and use up most of my gas towards the end of the year. Stuff for like lawnmowers and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And resupply. Midwinter. There's no reason to keep that stuff over the winter. It's just not gonna run great when you start up in the springtime. But diesel is something to always keep on hand. It's great for you're right. You can stabilize gasoline, but diesel is great. As far as a lot of people have furnaces that run on kerosene. You can use diesel for all that stuff. Keeping your house warm during the winter is obviously it's a priority.
All right. Now I do have
put
to
on a
point
sweatshirt
out,
though.
Right. Don't take away. The furnace will run on kerosene. Diesel and kerosene furnaces will smoke a lot more than it should. So just take a note there. That
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it'll be fine.
Oh, it'll definitely work, but I've seen a little smoke out of there. But anyway, if you're storing diesel, if you want it to last years and years and get a little out of it, try and keep it where it's not going below like 35, like in a warmer kind of area where it's not going to gel up at all. So if you can keep it in the barn or something like that in the basement, that would be a little better than just anywhere. Kevin mentioned some toilet paper issues. Again, it's not the time to run out and buy things that are high in price already. It's kind of the time you want to look forward to, hey, what's not expensive? During inflation, like as far as the investor point of view, you want to look at like commodities, things that people need. They're going to be buying oil in the future. They're going to be buying natural gas stuff, things that make that happen. Your new Xbox games and things like that. Yeah, you have your random spikes. There's things that, are trendy or whatever. Things are always going up and down. But the things you can count on are the solid like commodities. Real estate will typically hold value or go up through inflation. And like I said, it may have, a peak and then come back down a little bit. But as a whole, it's going to fare well a lot better than nonsense. You'll find that actually as inflation happens, at first things are expensive and tough to get, with the like buying a used boat or whatever. But once people have no money, nobody gives a shit about buying a used boat. Nobody's like, hey, I want to go boating this summer when I can't afford food for my family. You know what I'm saying? So the value of your boat is going to actually come way down. So you want to think about things like that. But like Kevin said, it's a great opportunity to go out and get, pick up those things when they do come down in price. Hey, look, classic cars are way down. I don't know. That's not what I'm saying is actually happening. I'm saying that's something to watch for, things like that. But then when people are flush with cash, then the value's going way back up. That's how that ebb and flow kind of works.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the other things that I'm seeing a big price increase in is diapers, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't wear diapers anymore. None of
No,
my kids are in diapers. It's not a big deal.
you might be going
For
back
me.
in a few years, but
Yeah, yeah, a few more years. Never trust a fart when you get to a certain age, but that is an issue with people. People generally with younger kids are generally
yes,
younger people that have less money, so it is an issue.
right,
You can switch to cloth diapers. That'll be less expensive. I never used cloth diapers because I'm not some kind of hippie.
right.
But something that's reusable like that is a great way to cut some of the costs. Another thing that's going up for the same people is childcare. Prices are going through the roof as far as getting somebody to watch your kid. So one of the things you can do is maybe maybe that's something that you're into. You or the missus,
Maybe I should quit my job and set up a daycare.
Set up a daycare, situation. If you're taking care of your kids already, it might be, might be able to make a little extra money by helping out with somebody else's kids. So just something to keep in mind. It's right now it's hard to find somebody. The thing is that daycare workers are generally making $12 an hour, and nobody's working for $12 an hour anymore. You can't. There's no reason to have a job and not be able to pay your bills when you can also not have a job and not be able to pay your bills, right? Be broke both either way and not have to fucking work. So,
Right.
so that is, one thing that, if that's, if you've got a heart for that type of thing, I personally hate children. I would never have a daycare, but, I'm not everybody. I know some people are, into that sort of stuff. So, maybe a possible way to earn some extra cash if, if the wife's at home or if that's something you guys are into.
Right. No, it sounds like a smart move. That's the thing. I mean, you got to think about what you have to offer and what people need. I know people with young kids can be desperate, for trying to find and solve their daycare solutions. And that's something, I think I had mentioned, I was talking to an appraiser and he was like, hey, I'm making money hand over fist because it basically is a kind of economy proof. When people can't sell their house, they're all refinancing or, things like that. There's always something going on. And there's just certain jobs that are kind of stable kind of throughout things. And, when everybody's stuck and desperate, they're probably not buying new houses left and right, or the prices might be coming down where the commissions, are a little tighter or things like that. So just be aware. Look for opportunities. So, needful things like Kevin said, alcohol, I would add tobacco to that. Think of from the prepper point of view, make sure you have your kind of medicines and things like that you need. Because those things, like cough and cold medicine, they can get tough when everybody's out there dying of COVID or whatever, it's maybe tough to find the decongestants and things like that. I don't know. Haven't been out trying to buy this stuff because I'm actually pretty well stocked on things. But these are the things to be looking at. Look at what kind of food, what kind of, things you have there. But also think of your basic maintenance. Think of what you need to be working and what you need to keep it working. Get your cars squared away, your tires, whatever. Put your money into real products is, I guess, what I'm talking about. I'm not saying get into debt. I'm saying that, things that are real is where you should be spending your money instead of nonsense. It's funny. I used to kind of have a rule where, and it kind of helped me in life, is anytime I would buy anything, I would be like, all right, but what's this worth when I'm trying to sell it at a yard sale later? Is somebody going to give me $5 for this, or is this going to be worth the $75 I'm paying for it right now? Think about what you're doing before you do it. and think of its real value. You know, that kind of mindset, I don't know, kind of really helps. Like, I think it was brought on, you know, being in the military, you know how they say you move all the time. Well, I was moving all the time. And every time you're like just throwing out tons of stuff and you're like, man, I paid so much for that. I bought DVDs for $20 and I bought, you know, and I'm just throwing it out. They're just garbage sitting on the floor or stuff that's filling up a storage unit. And it ends up, you know, it disgusted me. I was like, I can't do it. And now every time I buy something, I'm like, well, one, can I find it used? Does it, whatever? And it's not about like being stupid cheap. It's about being smart. Just think about what you're doing before you do it. I mean, there's certain things that it's better off, you know, buying a good tool set. It's hard to find a complete tool set, you know, used, right? But, you know, be frugal with your money enough that you're aware of it, you know? Be, you know, aware of what's going on. Now, buying a new toolbox for $4,000, whereas you can buy the same very premium $4,000 toolbox for $2,500, you're already ahead of the game, and maybe you don't even need a $2,500 toolbox, but you might. I mean, I'm just saying it is possible. I'm not ruling that out. I don't want to be ugly here. I have heard rumors of certain jobs where when you quit and leave that you get to keep your toolbox at the end of it. It's like a little retirement parting gift. I'm just saying that might be a thing. So you may want to look into those jobs.
This is our almost Christmas episode. I don't think we're going to have another episode before Christmas, right?
That sounds accurate. Yes.
So, I mean,
yes.
You know, obviously most of you guys that are responsible have done all your Christmas shopping. I'm not a responsible person. I still have to get on my shit.
That doesn't sound accurate. Yeah.
One of the major costs though right now are electronics. So, you know, maybe a good time to steer your kids away from the video games. Toys are going up in price too, though. So there's not a whole lot of room there. Toys and electronics are you know, going up through the roof right now.
Hey, my wife.
You know, I don't have a whole lot of options. I don't have a whole lot of solutions to this, but you know, keep that in mind. You don't have to fucking blow your kids' minds every Christmas by you know, having a massive room full of gifts and shit. You can keep it reasonable, and this is a good year to do that.
Yeah, I saw somebody, you know, was like, yeah, people, they posted on the internet, you know, how all the little clever shit out there. They posted something about, people keep asking me what I want for Christmas. And I told them, well, right now I'm really into groceries, heating oil, and, you know, and gas for my car. Having new tires on my car so it drives me to work, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I'm just saying these things are not that bad. You know, maybe even the family that it's a little tight, you know, you have the sister or brother or somebody out there that you feel you need to look out for. You know, maybe the gift card at Walmart or whatever for groceries isn't necessarily the bad plan. You know, I mean, maybe they'll go out and buy shit with it and you'll just be cursing anyway. You'd be like, oh, I gave them $200 and they freaking went and bought a new TV or whatever, you know, but you know, that's the kind of thing though. And, you know, there are things, you know, quality, woods come back down a little bit, you know, you can go out and build something nice for your friends, family, whatever, you know, do the nice little woodworking project, maybe give a little bit of your time and effort. I will say, my company employer there likes to pretend that we care about people and they have these mandatory volunteer hours. So you have to help out the world because that way we can be like, look, as a company, we volunteer all this time, but really it's like whatever. So anyway, we put together these care packages for the kids and you know, we'll fill book bags before school or things like that. You know, when the school year is about to start, we'll put together knapsacks with notebooks and pencils and pens and whatever, crayons, protractors. I don't know what the hell kids use. So anyway, and we're putting it together and it's got these like So each bag of food was like these little, like, I'd say like 3-ounce can of a meal, like 3-ounce can of mac and cheese, a 3-ounce can of I don't know, SpaghettiOs, a 3-ounce can of beef macaroni, different crap like that, right? So you had like 4 meals like that, had these 2 juice boxes, 2 milk containers, and 2 little containers of cereal. And I was like, all right, at best, if the kid's going hungry and the kid weighs about 40 pounds, he's maybe getting 2 days out of this little thing that I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Now, they gave me 4 hours of volunteer time, packing these little bags, sending it out to, whatever, in the little assembly line. And yeah, I maybe like drove a fork truck and went and picked up a pallet and brought it over to, make things go easy, things like that. But bottom line, I was like, you know what? You should have just had me work and taken 4 hours of my paycheck, because the kid would rather have freaking $200 or whatever, and be a lot happier, I was like, yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess my point is, be aware of what you're doing with your money and your time.
Yeah.
If it's easier for you to make money, then make money and do what you do. If you can't go out and turn the money like that, then you need to instead freaking, see if you can use your mind and whatever. And I got to say, people do love the homemade, nice custom stuff and things you can do if you have any skills in that. And maybe your skill isn't woodworking. Maybe you're the metal guy. Maybe Spanny Blades there is, whipping out a nice knife for me for Christmas. I don't know. I keep checking the mailbox. I haven't seen anything there, but I'm assuming that's what he maybe got me. I mean, because that would be smart, right, Seth? I'm just saying, putting that out there. I'll keep looking in the mailbox. I don't know if it's coming. Who knows? But, that's the kind of trick, though, is what you do. Maybe your wife is great at, crocheting sweaters or something or another. I don't know. I don't know what it is that people do. Maybe you go plant a garden for somebody, but there are other ways that it doesn't have to be shelling out cash into nonsense. And even if you are shelling out cash, try and think of things that have real value, as these holidays approach and things like that. Try and, focus on real value. And, sometimes time and whatever is the value that you're giving. The old lady, was like, oh, earlier in the year, this coffee table's really beautiful. I'd love to have one like that, whatever. And I was like, shit, I could whip that out. But that's the thing, no joke. I probably spent $60 in wood, and, I'm going to put together a nice coffee table. I did realize that it was because I have the right tools in my house that it was actually going to go a lot smoother than I thought it would. I was like, oh, thank God I have a belt sander. Oh, I have a planer. I can actually, rough that out really quick, and I can, things like that. But different things that you have, think of the skills you have, think about what has real value. And, try and focus on that. And, right before the holidays, I think that's, nice to kind of reset back to, that mindset of, hey, I don't need to just stuff junk so somebody has 40 things to open. That's not what it's about.
Right.
Let's spend time with each other, enjoy each other's company. But in everything you're doing, think of what value you're getting in return. And I guess that's, the big focus. I had actually just read a post last night. One of my my college professors, my job actually sent me back to school, and I just kind of finished it up. But one of the college professors that I stayed in touch with is like just retired. And he didn't, he retired from being a college professor, but the guy is a local like electrician and that kind of thing. And he was like, look, I'm doing 2 jobs. They're paying me crap at the college. And he's like, and I'm just missing all the time with my family. And the guy, was talking about, he's like, when I was 9, my dad died, and, stuff like that. And he's like, and I always never wanted to be that guy, who's always working and nonstop and away, and you miss the time with your kids. And he basically took the time to reprioritize, and hey, let me stop what I'm doing and realize what's important. Maybe we actually sacrifice a little bit and have less stuff. My kids don't have as cool video games, or they don't have, the new car when they're 16, or whatever the hell it is people with lots of money do. You maybe skip some of those things, but being there for your family and spending time with people is not a bad way to be. So, just think about your priorities and where you're heading in life.
Yeah, the most you can spend on a kid is time. And that's, that's a fact. It's it's important, and it's more important. Like Chuck was saying, it's more important than the video games and all the other bullshit that you might be able to buy them.
Right, or you having the nicer car or whatever. I mean, maybe you're not even spending the money on the kids. You're just like, fuck it, but we need a nice house or whatever. It's just there's a balance, obviously, and life is all about figuring that out. How much do I do work? You don't want your kids going hungry either. You got to be a man and provide, but just the same, being a man is also taking care of your kids and not ignoring them and whatever. So, it all comes down to value. And that's really what you need to be thinking about, with inflation and everything, is what's the value, and decide what you're going to get in return. Know how you're going to take care of the people you love. And sometimes it's not stuff. So just think about it. I did notice there's some new guys supporting us on Patreon. I like that. You guys looking out for us. You can go to patreon.com/preppingbadass if you want to, take care of us a little bit. I will try and shoot out some Prepping Badass patches to anybody who signs up. You have any show ideas, things you want to tell us about, talk about, care about, whatever, you can email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Maybe you need that last minute Christmas gift that's not going to quite show up on time. You can go to preppingbadass.com and buy some badass gear. Maybe you don't get what you want under the tree, and you're like, shit, I didn't get my Prepping Badass t-shirt like I really wanted. That's your opportunity. Treat yourself a little bit. A little something
Treat
for
yourself.
you. Something nice. That's completely the opposite of what we were just talking about. But, hey, each his own, right? But, that's it. Just, hey, we appreciate you guys listening. It's been another fun year. I'm actually kind of rejuvenated. To do some exciting new episodes for you guys coming up. I've been thinking about cool things, and I actually reached out to a bunch of trigger manufacturers and was able to get some great companies to jump on board and send us some triggers to evaluate, see what we can throw in the AR-15. I'm excited they're willing to work with us, and, Midwest Industries, Timney Triggers, some other good guys. As the more guys sign up, I will keep them posted, but we're excited about that and see what they have to offer, and looking forward to an exciting new year. So with that, stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
The Survival and Basic Badass podcast is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.